The skills that we have actually transition perfectly for an acquisitions agent. To be able to qualify leads and having the different options is unbelievable.
If you do want to go creative, you can't overpay and then give them everything, right? 20% high interest rate. That's not a deal. Walk away.
I'm a problem for competitors, you know?
He has a particular set of skills that he's developed over an extended period of time.
You can't get married to one specific marketing channel because it does vary depending on the season. In our space, things are always getting banned. KPIs, conversion, we track everything because then you can make business decisions, not emotional.
Inbound will allow you to scale faster than outbound. It gives you a much more predictable business that you can build.
So that's how we do it now.
We're going to have a panel, and this panel is of absolute rock stars that are operating within that framework that we just described of retail plus creative at a very high level. As I'm seeing like throughout the crowd, people are like, I don't know if I could do that. That sounds a little complicated. I don't know if I have the money, right? All these different things that pop into your head. Every single person that's here started off listing property, and that's it. And the people that you see today is because they stacked skills and they learned something new. And what you'll realize are these skills are transferable. So I guess we can start with Adeli's because ladies first. Big dogs come in small packages, yes? Talk a little bit about making that transition because actually when you made that transition, I actually gave you a little static about it, didn't I?
This Aaron here is a evolved Aaron. He used to give me a hard time about content. He used to tell me, oh, you're making those videos, go make calls. And we were coaching for 3 years, I believe, and we were working on the listing presentation, FSBOs expired, and then I started to have a desire to do more on the investment side, and I started getting involved there. I have that call recorded. One day I'm going to play it on a big screen.
We should put it up here and play it.
I have it where I was telling him, well, I want to do this thing called wholesaling, and he's like, why do you want to do that? Like, keep doing what you're doing. Part of you has to know, like, when to pivot, when there's a desire. So I just did it because I was tired of the way I was doing business with the FSBOs and the expireds. I think it's a great strategy, but you can't just do that because I always felt like I was chasing. So I wanted to do things where, you know, I was attracting sellers that actually needed my help. And then I had to become really good at being able to provide solutions to those sellers. Now, I don't call FSBOs, I don't call expires. We actually have cash offer marketing where the sellers are submitting their information. They want you to give them an offer. And we've gotten really good at qualifying and being able to provide different solutions. And it's, you know, we're doing right now, just this week, we got 3 listings signed, 2 creative deals. And we do everything over the phone. We do everything virtual.
Wait, time out. Did you hear what she just said? Everything over the phone and everything virtual.
Really open to learning and doing things differently. So our business right now is composed of, so we do listings, we do creative deals like subject to seller finance, we do wholesales, we do novations. So it wasn't like I did everything all at once, right? We started adding layers to our business. We just did wholesaling for like the first year and a half. And then we felt like there was opportunities where the wholesale just wasn't the right fit, but they were still discounted. So then I found this guy that was doing novations. We learned about novations, and then we added that branch to our business. And then, you know, we were getting a lot of sellers that there was like low equity. And I was like, okay, how do we help them? So then we learned about creative, and then we added it. So I'm very much about learning one skill, getting really good at it, and then stacking on top of those skills. Because sometimes when you think about like, oh, we do, 5 different things, it feels really overwhelming to do all of that at once. But I would get really good at the listing and get really good at the cash offers and then start to add more to it if I was like in you guys' place.
Now, Abel, this dapper young gentleman here, you did how many retail transactions last year?
We did 85 retail transactions.
How much volume was that?
67 million.
67 million. And then how many creative deals?
We did 15 creative deals.
And on those 15 creative deals, how much money did you make?
$814,000.
Oh, that's pretty dope, yes? How many people besides me would like to do 15 deals and make $800,000? Yeah. But you started off again, a residential resale real estate agent, yes?
Yeah, I knew about wholesaling, but I was like in the Mike Ferry stuff, right?
Who? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was just like, I want to be the best top listing agent ever. So that's what I focused on the first couple years. Yeah, even though because I wasn't focused on the other stuff, I probably was leaving money on the table.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I would do like wholesaling here and there when it just made the most sense and it was a super obvious solution, but I wasn't running any advertisements around a cash offer lead magnet. So the wholesaling that I did my first couple of years in the business was just kind of by accident. It was like, this person for sure wants a cash offer and they're for sure willing to sell it below fair market value.
And then you would do it.
And then I would do it.
In other words, initially, because you can tell them, like, tell them the amount of contacts you made, like those first, I think it was like the first year or whatever, or that first couple of years.
The first couple of years I was on the phone on average like 5 to 6 hours a day, getting 50 to 80 contacts a day.
A day, team. So you were all outbound.
Yeah.
And essentially, and didn't you knock on like a silly amount of doors or something like that?
I didn't do any door knocking. It was just all on
just
the phone.
And then.
But I was selling like mobile homes, whatever I could get.
Yeah, bro. Hey, is it on wheels?
Yeah.
Nope, I can help you. So it was all outbound. And when you just happened to bump into somebody that we're like, hey, this is a really good deal, you would do it.
Yeah.
And tell me this, what caused you to make the connection from inbound to outbound? Because that's really when things took off, yeah?
Yeah, so then I realized that the phones obviously worked. So then I built like a really small cold calling team. Okay. So I had a VA out of the Philippines and she, I don't know, brought in 20 listings one year.
Yeah,
so in a way in a way that's inbound, right? Because now I'm not personally the one calling those leads to begin with. I'm just getting updates like, hey, this is a hot lead, you should call them. So that's when it started to click the difference between inbound and outbound and leverage.
Money has an addictive quality, and because of it, we get addicted to the way that we receive it. He was making a lot of money doing one thing, yes? Most of you guys make a lot of money doing one thing. You will never change your mind and do something different. He was willing to be like, hey, wait a minute, there's outbound that requires a tremendous amount of energy and output from me, 5 hours a day, 80 contacts a day, which is a lot. Hey, what if I started to learn how to market? Because if you are a rockstar salesperson, it's because you're a crappy marketer.
Yep.
So you went down that path, and then what happened?
And then in 2022, I was just, a lot of what I learned was just free on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right, watching what other people do. So then there was a podcast about how to get onto TV, right, and like run a I buy houses cash type advertisement. So I hopped on the call with that company. It made sense for me. I'll get into it a little bit more in the presentation. It might not make sense for you depending on your market, because your market and your geography and your population is going to dictate cost. But for me, it was a $5,000 a month investment. So it made sense. And then basically, we'll play the commercial later, but that was the first like truly inbound, where now people are calling me looking for a solution. And then I had a lot of success with it right away. Can't say that's a guarantee, but for me, it worked. And then I started adding and tweaking different things. So pay per lead. I've played with direct mail. I built a home buying website, and now at this point I'm getting like free SEO leads on Google that are just searching sell my house, and I'm the first thing on Google. So I've played around with a lot of things, and what works the best for me now are TV, SEO, and PPL when it comes to like true off-market assignment contracts.
And just so you know, there's a lot of acronyms. Like PPL means pay per lead. Okay. And the interesting thing is, because we started working together in a coaching capacity about a year ago.
Yep.
He found me online. Hey, it works, yeah? And he was like, yeah, dude, I want to grow and scale my business. Like, I think you can help me. And you were doing great already. You were already like a rock star. And on one of our first calls, I was like, hey, what's your goal? He's like, oh, I want to sell 100 homes a year. I said, why? And if you get to know Abel, he's an intelligent guy, and he paused. That's how you know somebody's smart. You ask him a question, they go like this. So he pauses and he looks at me. He's like, well, I don't know. I've just always wanted to do it. I said, okay, so it's a vanity number. He was like, yeah, I guess it is. I said, what's more important to you? Do you want to be rich or do you want to have vanity? He's like, I want to be rich. I said, great. Which thing in your business has the highest margin? What did you say, hands down?
The off market.
Off market, hands down. I was like, great. So if you spent more time doing it, what do you think you could do on that side of the business? At the time you're doing $500,000, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I think I could double it. Great. What would you need to do to be able to spend more time on it? Spend less time on the retail deals. And he was like, okay. And in order to do that, we had to dig into his economic model to make sure that it made sense, that it was still profitable. So we had to go back to the team, change dynamics, and guess what happened? In 2025, retail went up.
Retail went up by like $300,000.
And what happened on your creative side? Did you double it?
We didn't double it. We went from 500 to 850.
Not bad, right?
Yeah.
Not bad at all. All because he was willing to what? Try something new, change his mind, and implement. Does that make sense? And again, he just started off, he was an agent, bro, listing property. So I just want everybody to see, everybody here has done that. This is not outside of reach for you.
Yeah, and the last thing too is like, the assignment income is great. and a lot of the marketing that we does works for that purpose. But more often than not, these leads that are coming in for a cash offer is just an opportunity for us to evaluate what the right solution is, and we end up listing the property more often than not.
So when you implement these cash offer deals, what happens? Retail goes up. He made $300,000 more in retail because there's listings. And he made $800 on the creative deal. Other than that, I don't know why you would want to do it. This young man, hey, was he great today or what? Yeah? Knows his stuff. Yeah. You know what was funny? He didn't even know on his schedule that he was supposed to go at 1. So as I start to introduce him, I see him looking at his phone. He's like, babe, I think I'm going up right now. But he showed up and delivered. You, like Adelis and Abel, you were just a listing agent. Yeah. Now, you went to an event probably 3 or 4 years ago that wildly opened your mind. Talk a little bit about that.
I don't remember the year, but I went to a Rafael Vargas event. He was a wholesaler, and I was invited by my good friend Angel. He's like, let's go to this event. And I went there, and it kind of changed my perspective. I have a gift that I'm able to see patterns and read patterns extremely well. So when I went there, I thought to myself, I'm like, it's so interesting. They have the same ideal avatar of a client that we have as listing agents, yet they're a lot more creative in how to find that avatar and a lot more efficient on how to find that avatar. And once I realized that they had the same ideal client that we have, I'm just like, look, I am going to learn how they find the ideal avatar, and then I'm going to give people the option of like, hey, if you want to sell for cash, great, I'll sell it for cash. If you want listing, I'll list it as well too.
Well, and I'm curious because prior to that, you were actually emotional about the way you do business because you're like, I'm a listing agent.
No, I think I've always been open to I've been investing since 2010. I bought my first rental property back then. Like, I think even by the time I went to that event, I probably already owned like 15, 20 doors.
Who's counting? I don't know.
So I was always like, the investment side was something that I was always open to. I think where my frustration came is that I would attend certain events, and it got to the point where I was the person that people were coming up to me, and I felt like I was like one of the bigger fish in that pond. And what I realized, I was like, I got to get inside a different pond. And then once I joined a different mastermind group, there's people doing their 40 million in revenue a year. So then once again, I became a student, and I started learning, and I started going up to people, and I found people that were very generous. I found somebody just like Aaron, but on the investment side. And it was so funny because when I met Aaron, I was like, this is my guy. When I heard that guy, I was like, this is him. This is the guy for learning. And I just basically started asking him questions. He recommended a couple books, and I basically just started implementing. And what I realized is that when I was going on these appointments, I was actually beating all the investors up just because I had the options. And I actually had a sales process that I follow. Like a lot of these guys just go on the appointment without qualifying the lead. Because of the skills that we had as a listing agent, I was extremely good at qualifying the lead. So by the time I got to the appointment, I already know what the best option for them is and which appointments are no longer good to be able to go on. So the skills that we have as a listing agent actually transition perfectly for an acquisitions agent, which is the equivalent of a listing agent in the investment world.
I was on a podcast with Pace Morby. Everybody know who Pace is? Pace Morby? Yeah. He's an creative finance guy. And he invited me on his wholesale hotline. And while I'm on there, all these wholesalers are there. And they're like, hey, bro, how come agents don't come to wholesale events and wholesale events don't come to agents events? And I was like, well, that's pretty simple because you guys talk a lot of crap. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, the first thing you say when I walk in, you're like, oh, you're an agent? I don't say, oh, you're one of those ridiculous wholesalers who flood my emails with offers, lowball offers, and waste time. I don't do that, right? But the second reason is because we have the same avatar. We're focused on the same thing. And what I told Pace is that his community can learn from our community how to sell, how to be rockstar salespeople. We can learn from them how to be creative, how to put creative deals together. You put those two together, and now you're regularly beating investors on opportunities, yeah?
That ability to be able to qualify leads and then sell against investors or sell against different options, and having the different options is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's great. Yeah.
So I want to make sure you guys have the opportunity to ask these individuals questions. So if you have a question, just raise your hand, say who it's for.
So I'm working with a seller right now. She listed her house on the market for, let's say, $1 million, but realistically, it's not $1 million. It's been on the market for a year, and now she's asking me to relist it, but I don't want to take the listing because obviously I know I can't sell for that price. So I'm trying to get creative here. How you gotta approach that?
So I think sometimes we misunderstand creative finance because I have my metrics of what a good creative finance is, you need a low entry fee, like a low down payment. If it's seller finance, I typically want like no interest if possible or low interest. And then your monthly payment has to make sense because I'm an investor. So sometimes we take a listing that's overpriced, that's already not a good number, and then we try to make a deal when it's not a deal. Now, will I overpay for a seller finance deal? Potentially, but my other metrics have to be spot on. So if I'm paying, let's say that property's worth 900 and I'm paying $1 million, okay, I better be getting like no interest rate, super low down payment, and it's cash flowing because one thing kind of offsets the other one. So be careful because you always negotiate everything, right? So even a creative deal, I'm gonna negotiate. So don't fall into the trap of like, I'm people pleasing versus just having a raw conversation about like, this is overpriced and like, this is where we need to be. But if you do wanna go creative, you can't overpay and then give them everything, right? 20% high interest rate. That's not a deal. Walk away.
I think also you were asking it from like, how do I have that conversation? Because you don't want to list it at an overprice. So how do I have that conversation with the seller about an overpriced listing? To be honest, with like a lot of sellers that are overpriced, you'd be surprised how many times they haven't even seen the comps, basically. Like I've met with so many expired listings and I'm like, they're like, hey, I want 1.2. I'm like, look, this is what a $1.2 million property looks like. I did this the other day. He's like, I want 2.2. I show them a $2.2 million listing. They're on half an acre. The $2.2 million listing's on 5 acres. So a lot of times your ability to be able to do that, to be like, hey, look, like there definitely are properties selling at 2.2 million. This is what those properties look like. Now, the properties that are at half an acre, this is what they're selling for. And then at that point, they have to make a decision whether they want to sell it. That's one approach. The other approach that I've taken, like I had a neighbor in my community that knocks on my door. He's like, hey, I want you to list my property. It just came off the market. And he's like, I'm like, okay, great. I'm like, how much do you want for it? He's like, well, I had it listed at 1.566. I want the same price. And I was just very transparent with him. I told him, look, I'm sorry. Very respectfully, I'm going to decline the opportunity to work with you. It's just not, unfortunately, the market's not there. I live in the community. I want to be able to walk around with my kids and not have the neighbors look at me like, why isn't the home selling? So I was very transparent. He's like, look, well, he's like, what price? And then he's like, what price do you think you could sell it for? I'm like, look, it's going to go from 1.3 to 1.4. He's like, no, I would never do that. Calls me back 2 days later. He's like, Jose, thank you for being upfront. I want to list it with you. I'm like, are you open to listing it at the price that I recommended? He goes, yes. We list it at 1.4, do a price reduction, 100,000, sells for 1.3, get it done in 40 days. So there's a couple different approaches. One, you'd be surprised how many times the sellers haven't actually been presented with the comps. And when you actually present them, they'll be like, look, my other agent never actually went over this information with me. So that's a skill, learning how to present comps in a way that helps people realize that what they want isn't in line with the marketplace. And then two is just a very transparent approach. Like, hey, look, like I wouldn't be interested at that. Very respectfully, I wouldn't be interested at that price. And I was like that in that situation because, dude, I live in the community. I just want to like chill when I'm not working and be able to talk to the neighbors and just hang out, I didn't want that, So those are the two different approaches that you can take. One is present the right information in a way where they can understand it. Two, very direct approach. Hey, look, I know you want me to list the property. Unfortunately, at that price, it wouldn't sell.
So this is kind of more like a technical question, and I'm going to reach out to Abel on this one. So when you're in the like higher production for the Outbound, I know you were doing like about 50 to 80 contacts. So my thing is like, I've never been able to get to like 10 leads or 10 contacts an hour. Technically, how do you reach that number of opportunities for conversations to convert to more leads? Like how to get more people to answer the phone?
Yeah, that was back in 2019 and 2020. And I would say now there's a lot more spam blockers. People are less apt to pick up numbers that they don't know. I think there's some weird stuff with auto dialers where you're going to be more likely to show up as a spam risk in general. So I think it's just a different time, like 5 years ago, to where now that's why we try to outsource most of the actual cold calling to, $4 or $5 an hour labor. Right. So then that way, me and my team, all we're doing is we're talking to people that have already raised their hand, that have said that they would be looking at selling. I don't think I have like the best answer for you right now to like, how do you get more contacts with your current system? I think it's just hard. You can hire your own virtual assistant. I would not recommend this at this point, and then train them on how to call and then put them on ready mode, right? And you can do all that. Or you can hire companies like Enzo Dialer. There's another one that I use too, Easy Button. With the one I use, Easy Button, I believe it's $2,500 a month, and I'm guaranteed 35 leads a month. And then these are all people that have said to the caller, yes, I would consider a cash offer, and they answered a various set of questions. So then when we call back, we're not even necessarily associating ourselves with that cold caller. We usually wait a couple days and then treat it like a normal call. Like, hey, John, this is Abel, Invest Slow. I was calling to see if you might be thinking about selling your house. And they've already just told somebody else that they were. So the likelihood that they're going to be upfront and honest with me is pretty high. So that's how we do it now. Now, the people that I personally call on my dialer are like people that are expecting my call, right? Or leads that have already like responded to somebody. So I'm not chasing down the correct phone number and things like that.
For like multiple on your return for your marketing, what's your like minimum for input?
I think it depends on your conversion level as well too. And I'm not the greatest at tracking things, but if I had to take a guess, I was told by a gentleman that helps me with that I'm probably like at 8x.
8x.
Yeah. For most people, I mean, if you put $1 in and you double it, I mean, if you put $1 in and you triple it, it's like, but I think I'm above average because of how dominant of a listing agent I already was. And those skills transfer perfectly into this world. I'm a problem for competitors,
He has a particular set of skills that he's developed over an extended period of time. My experience is it's usually like a 2x return on listings, but then you'll do a creative deal and it'll become 8x.
You can't get married to one specific marketing channel because it does vary depending on the season. So RVMs, which is direct voicemails, that was really successful, and then it got banned in Florida. And like in our space, things are always getting banned. We had our best return on investment on text messages when that was a thing because it was really cheap and you could reach a lot of people. Then it got oversaturated. So if we look at our numbers year after year, it varies because things change. Cold calling is becoming, lower as far as return because we're getting spammed and it's harder to reach people. So a lot of people in our industry have shifted to inbound, and it depends because I've had conversations with some of you guys. To do PPC, for example, you have to have a really big budget, but there's like lower cost effective things like Facebook ads. And then you have to really look at your market, how much money you have, track it at least for 90 days, and then make decisions based on your numbers. So it's like seasonalities. What we've gotten really good at is like, this isn't working. We've done it for 6 months. Let's cut it off. What else can we explore? So you have to have a really good handle on KPIs, conversion. We track everything because then you can make business decisions, not emotional, like this business isn't good. It's just like this marketing channel just is not working anymore.
This is for Jose. You mentioned a couple of books that someone recommended at a critical moment. What were those books?
It's called the Sales Acceleration Formula, basically using data technology and inbound selling to go from 0 to 100 million. Inbound will allow you to scale faster than outbound, basically. And once you can make the transition to inbound, it gives you a much more predictable business that you can build.
You can make $1 million a year, let's say, doing outbound. You can make $10 million a year if you add inbound to it, right? I think we're good on time. If you see them at the event, pull them aside, ask them questions. They're more than happy to answer. I want to give them the proper amount of energy in response to them, being here with us. So, I want to get everybody's energy moving because we're about to go downstairs. Everybody stand up. We're going to do 2 claps to Ric Flair again. Give me 2 claps to Ric Flair. Woo! Let's go have an amazing rest of the day on purpose. You have the Avengers of real estate in this room. There is nothing that you could want to do in real estate that somebody in this room hasn't done. 14,000 on your first deal with her, you. 42,000 on one deal, $90,000 on one transaction. All because, guys, they were in this room. You are one relationship away and one decision away from finding it.